Brandon hit me up from Gaffney, South Carolina, home of former President Frank Underwood, and he said FSU just had one of the worst seasons I've ever seen from what was supposed to be a top 10 program. 2025 has to be do or die for Norvell. Even with his massive contract extension, that now seems poorly timed. Wait a second. First off, I hope all of you have seen House of Cards or you don't know what I meant by Frank Underwood. Poorly timed. Wait a second now. Just hold on. It's easy to say now that the Mike Norvell contract extension was poorly timed. You can't say that with revisionist history at your disposal, or you can't say that with the benefit of hindsight. That's not fair, because FSU had to extend his contract before they saw what was going to happen the following year. So let's go back to this time last year. Florida State's season just wrapped up in an unfortunate manner, but what did they do? They went undefeated in the regular season. They won the ACC championship. They finished the season with their backup quarterback and still won the conference. They supplanted any kind of doubt that people had had about whether FSU could come back as a team or whether Mike Norvell was the real deal. All of that was silenced. Nobody was doubting Mike Norvell this time last year. And then the Alabama job came open. Mike Norvell's name was mentioned. It's up to Greg Byrne and it's up to some agents to know how serious it was. You're not getting me to talk about that on air. But it was real enough to where maximum leverage was enjoyed and a new contract was signed. A contract extension was signed. That's not poorly timed. That's absolutely when that would happen. It's the way that always happens. You do a really good job. Other people want you. If the place you're at right now wants to keep you and they decide they do, then they make it worth your while to stay. That's the long and short of that. That was not poorly timed. It's just that it just so happened the bottom fell out right after that. So what have they done there? They've gone and gotten Tony White, which I think was a huge move, defensive coordinator from Nebraska, and they went and got Gus Malzahn at UCF. 2 new coordinators there. They've got a new Doak, by the way. First off, do you know who Florida State opens with? Colin, do you have their schedule for this upcoming year? Have we even made those graphics yet? It's still January, so we may not have that. Yes, we do. I've got 2 bits of news. The first one is Florida State plays East Texas A&M in week 2. I had never heard of them in my life. But they're playing a team I have heard of in week 1. They play Alabama at home to start 2025. And great news, the renovations at Doak will be completed. So they'll be playing in front of a full house, I assume. Maybe not quite full the next week against ETAMU. But Bama in their week 1, and I have no clue what their team will look like. They got the quarterback from Boston College. They got 2 new coordinators. I was looking at the transcript of a talk that Mike Norvell had with a bunch of FSU boosters recently. He sounds bullish. How else would you sound? He has reallocated a lot of that contract extension and raise he got back into the program, which I thought was an integrity move. Like, that's what I would do. I wear the same 3 T-shirts every week, so I don't need millions of dollars. I'd like to have it, but I don't need it. And so, like, if I were a coach, I'd just be spending a lot of my money on my program. And it looks like that's what Mike Norvell's doing. So Mike Norvell and I, not so different, perhaps, maybe? I don't know. And Mike Norvell perennially gets voted as one of the best-looking college football coaches out there. We run that poll every year, and every year Mike Norvell finishes right at the top. So he's got 2 new coordinators. He's got the hotness factor, other people's words, not mine, of course. But I'm happy to respect the results of our polling. And we're in the whole never say never era. So I never would have said what happened last year was going to happen. Would you? Those of you who thought the worst was going to happen for Florida State, what were you saying, 7-5? 6-6 would have been a disaster. And here they go, 2-10? That was not foreseeable. So, could we see both sides of that coin is what I'm asking. Could we see this rebound this year as everyone reconditions themselves to say, dude, how much better could you get in 1 year? They were 2-10. They've got to improve a lot to just get to bowl eligibility. Well, their record has to be a lot better. But what if it's just boom, 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 like wild spikes up and down if you lean on the portal like they do? It could be that, for all I know. The portal era textbook is unfinished. You know, back in the day when they gave you textbooks, You check into second grade on first day, you get your textbooks, they're finished. The history book is finished, so you know the beginning, the middle, and the end of a particular story. Well, this is an era of college football. We know how it started. We've got some early case study evidence for how it went. We have no clue what the real norm here is. So it could be that what happened to Florida State last year happens to someone every year. And then if it happens to someone, then the very next year, it could be just as wild on the other side. And it could be that desperation, born from going 2-10, leads to extra desperation in an attempt to reverse that. And then they're disproportionately more likely to bounce back severely the next year. So you never know. You never know what the new portal era is going to bring us.